Alabama. As I ended 5 days on the Natchez Trace, I entered Alabama and took a hard turn east on U.S. Highway 278 towards Atlanta. I didn't realize it when I planned this route, but that road was about to differ starkly from the luxury of the Trace. I found the road to be radically dangerous. It would primarily be a 4-lane, 65-mile-an-hour highway with only rumble strips and heavy semi-truck traffic. Not only semi-trucks, but big-ass logging trailers. These drivers are maniacs. A handful of times, I saw a truck pass me into the opposite traffic lane with another car coming and returning to the right lane within 5 feet of hitting the oncoming vehicle. Drivers are on some other level out here. It also didn't help that Appalachia welcomed me with open arms and erased my flat swamp roads. I'm talking brutal hills with steep cliff drops leading into hopeless forests where no one would ever find your dead body. Alabama has got me on high alert. Thankfully, I started to see more gas stations. Now that I know that gas stations have prepared food, I can indulge in hearty breakfasts and greasy lunches with canned soda pops. I'd meet light-hearted folks who were skilled in striking conversation. Everyone was friendly and curious, and I loved it. It didn't seem like anybody in Alabama treated me like a stranger. I came across a place called Natural Bridge. The sign posted at the mouth of the overpass boasted longest natural rock bridge east of the Rockies, which probably means the only one someone had the guts to buy the property and turn it into a tourist attraction. It was tucked down a steep asphalt driveway that ran into a little entrance hut. As I arrived, a lovely woman named Jennifer approached me. She was intrigued because of how obviously out of place I seemed. She was a kindergarten teacher helping with a field trip for her students. She was very excited to hear about my bike trip. She started telling all the other teachers and chaperones about me. I never expected to be a celebrity, but here I am. After we chatted, I went inside to pay the entry fee and grab some coffee. I hiked toward the main attraction and was surprised to find out it was only about 100 feet behind the building. There was a massive cave-like crevice carved out of the side of a bluff and 2 natural bridge archways at the top. You couldn't walk over them, but they had a nice trail through the cavern where you could look up at the bridges. It was like a budget Arches National Park. The park was beautiful, shaded, and offered a respite from the hot May sun. I hiked for about an hour, enjoying nature's peaceful streams and sounds. When I returned to the entrance, I ran into Jennifer again. She was with her busload of little kids and started explaining my trip to them all. They couldn't fathom the implications of riding a bicycle for 7 weeks straight, let alone 6 months. It was a fulfilling detour, especially since I don't usually allow myself the luxury of stopping for attractions. It always resets my soul when I grab cheap coffee and some good conversation. I planned to have dinner with another new friend, one I had met while biking through Arizona. Bob, who stopped me on the highway way back in Phoenix, had emailed me a few days before to get a read on where I would be while riding through the South. He was scoping out the Natchez Trace Parkway for a future bike ride and wanted to see if he could buy this old boy some dinner. It must be nice to be a retired traveler. We agreed to meet at my next campsite in Bankhead National Forest. Bob drove ahead of me and discovered the park was closed. He flagged me down on the road as I approached 5 miles from the closed site, and we began hunting for an alternative campsite. The other camping options close by were also closed. After many web searches and a fruitless conversation with a local park ranger, Bob checked us into a local inn, which may have been the only accommodations for miles. After I washed up, we grabbed a bite to eat at a chicken place, and he conducted a thorough interview, asking about my trip. He told me more about his cross-country bike trip with friends a few years earlier. They stayed in motels and carried minimal gear. It's always fun sharing stories about the people we meet and the differences in how we toured. I was intrigued hearing about his career and how he got into cycling. We talked about how these trips are really for all the other people out there. We want to inspire our friends and everyone else to leave their comfort zone and do something crazy. Do things they can never see themselves doing. Take a road trip, hike across the state, or bike in another country. It's about going out, doing it, and letting the adventure unfold once you're out there. Bob is a great guy, and I was impressed by his follow-through to find me in Alabama. His generosity inspired me, and he's a great role model for what I hope to be someday. It was refreshing to feel like someone had my back and wanted to go out of their way to see me and check my progress. That's not to say others weren't doing that, but the fact that a stranger was willing to do it makes me think about the world differently. About 2 years later, Bob would visit me in Kansas City, and I was able to show him some hospitality and catch up. In the morning, Bob and I ate a hotel breakfast and parted ways as I continued east through Alabama. I found more treacherous road conditions as Highway 278 turned into only 2 lanes, with no shoulder and drivers with zero patience for my 2 wheels. I spent 2 days fighting for my life, weaving the landscape of winding forests and exposed grassy fields. I averaged 80 miles daily, while the miles didn't feel any easier on my body. During long ride days, I got stuck in my head. The excitement had worn off, and I was mentally exhausted from dealing with adverse road conditions. I felt numb to the dangers of highway riding. I accepted that my fate wasn't in my hands. I was looking forward to Piedmont, Alabama. It was the starting point for the Chief Ladiga Rail Trail. This trail was a decommissioned railway converted into a pedestrian route that leads into Atlanta. My friends, the Childers, lived in a suburb not too far from the trail, and I was looking forward to safer conditions after surviving nearly a week on the not-so-bike-friendly Highway 278. I made it to Piedmont around 10 a.m. on my last day in the state and grabbed lunch at a cafe before heading onto the trail towards a campground. The path was paved and perfectly smooth. The mountains offered a fantastic backdrop in the distance, and I was awestruck by the picturesque scene. The experience in that moment was something of beauty. It felt like hard work paying off for a brief period of respite. I got to live inside a Bob Ross painting for that first hour of the trail. I arrived at the campground faster than expected, and the property was huge. I didn't see anyone else staying there, which gave me pause. I rode to the office, and there was an AM radio blaring inside, but no living person to be found. I started yelling around and didn't see or hear anyone anywhere. I also didn't see any vehicles around the property. I was baffled. It was only 2 p.m. by this point, so I figured, why not barge the next 60 miles all the way to Atlanta to have an extra day with my friends for the weekend? In theory, this was a great idea. Still, it was a monumental task and much more complicated than my naivety contended. I didn't consider the gradual grade of the Appalachians. Alabama was another cultural experience. It had the rural essence I was used to in Kansas, but the people had a different way about them. They were kind and down to earth, but something about the South is mystical. People want to stop and talk. They want to be easy. This place has an aura that transports you into another universe with a different concept of time. I'll never ride my bike here again, though.